Hey everybody, I'm Joe Killinger. I'm a real estate investor and entrepreneur, and we put these videos together every week to give you all the tips and insights from my experience over the last several years. So make sure you tune in and subscribe, and thank you. Hey everybody, thank you for tuning in. As you know, it's a hot market in commercial real estate out there. If you're a first-time investor, it can be kind of tough getting started right now. So I asked George Pino. George is the CEO of Commercial Brokers International here in Los Angeles. George, thank you for coming in.
Thanks for having me as always.
George is going to walk us through the steps you should take if you're a first-time investor to really give yourself a leg up as you're starting to write these offers and look for your properties. It's a tough market out there.
Tough market, and there's a lot of activity right now, and especially if you're a first-time investor or even second, third time, you want to make sure that you are presenting yourself in the best light and photo, and for not just to get the property,
right,
but also for the financing side. So we're going to talk a little bit, I think, of a couple things. One is what you should do to prepare before you buy the property, but also as soon as you buy the property, what you should have already prepared as well. So, meaning,
well, first find a good broker.
First, find a good broker. Number two, make sure that you start working on your own the financial aspect. Meaning, if the broker should be able to get you a form for a standardized PFS or personal financial statement, make sure you fill it in as much as detail, but you also want to make sure that you put it aside and start preparing all the backup data, meaning you're going to want to have 3 months of bank statements. You're going to want to have 2 years of tax returns. If this year's tax returns haven't been filed, you want to have the extension if it's already past due. So you want to make sure everything is in line. If you're buying under an LLC, make sure that you have the LLC either created or ready to be created right away. And then from there...
Well, you got to put yourself, as an investor, a first-time investor, you need to put yourself in the sellers or the seller's brokers, put yourself in their shoes. What do they want to see? Well, you need to supply that. So do it now. Prepare all this paperwork now as you're starting to write offers. You can always update it, but make sure you have it, and it's a lot easier to update. You can focus on the property, so on the acquisition.
What I would also recommend is that you actually start talking to some lenders ahead of time.
Sure.
So this way you can
pre-approved.
Get pre-approved, but also you understand exactly what type of financing that's there, so you don't waste the time when because it's a lot different when it comes to financing a commercial property than a residential property, and meaning that on a commercial property, the lenders will actually go out and start shopping it, and if you really haven't talked to a lender ahead of time, you're flying blind in that 3 to 5 day period that they're shopping that loan.
Right.
So you want to make sure you understand what's out there, what you can expect, and get ready to move forward on that right away.
Well, you need the cleanest offer you can put in there right now.
Absolutely.
Because you're up against sophisticated investors that are coming in saying, you know, it's $1 million property, I'm going to put $50,000 hard right the first day. Meaning you're just going to give that money to the owner of the property the first day. Or maybe it's going to be, I'll give it to you after a certain inspection is done.
Yeah.
You know, so that's your competition. You need to know that. So that's why we want to do this video and tell you what you need to be doing, because it's something that some of the agents have been hitting against, is the newer buyers just aren't prepared to really go up against these experienced people.
Well, yeah, and that actually goes...
Even though they're willing to pay more.
Absolutely. And you know, that goes to the point that, a seller's mentality is that it doesn't matter if you're willing to pay more if you can't close.
Right.
So they want to make sure that they're going to choose the right and the best person that is ready to close. So with that in mind, you know, when you start looking at the closing, the time frames, with the due diligence time frames, they are so important with commercial real estate, and that's where you actually need to prep ahead of time. Have your team ready and in place so that if you have an accepted offer, as soon as that purchase and sale agreement is executed, you're ordering all of your third-party reports. And I specifically emphasized all.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times...
Not onesie-twosie in them.
Yeah, absolutely.
That one passed, now I'm going to do this one all at once.
Exactly. So a lot of times new investors, what they'll do is they'll do a physical inspection if it's not a single tenant net lease deal, and then if it passes, then they'll order a phase one. If the phase one's clean, they'll order a survey.
Right.
Well, that doesn't help with the timing, because each one of these takes a lot of time.
Well, in a phase one, let's say you get that there could be a potential for contamination, you're going to have to order a phase two,
Phase
right?
two, absolutely. And just getting the phase one is going to take, if you know some good companies and your broker knows some good companies, minimum it's going to take is 15 days or 2 weeks. The typical time frame is about 21 days, and in some cases 30 days. So if you wait 15 days and then all of a sudden order a survey, the survey is going to take another 20 days.
Yeah.
You're past your due diligence time frame, and you run the risk of the seller saying, you know what,
Moving on.
we're moving on. So
Yeah.
you've spent this money, you've done this work,
Or renegotiation.
and you lose the deal.
Yeah.
So you want to order everything right away.
Okay.
This is not a onesie twosie, let's set it up in a row. It's everything should be done at the exact same time so that you're ready to close when you're supposed to close.
Yep. Okay. All right. So make yourself your at least pre-qualified or pre-approved. Make sure you've got a good broker, of course, and make sure all your due diligence starts day one.
Absolutely, absolutely,
Okay.
and understand what your due diligence is and what you're going to want to get done. And a broker can advise that
Yeah.
based upon all the different asset classes that you're looking at, because each asset class is a little bit different.
Yeah. So yeah, make sure you sit down with your broker before you even start writing offers and say, listen, who are we going to use for, build your team ahead of time. So that way you know who you can reach out to, approximate time frames, you can move fast, because you've got to really put yourself in that situation. If you were the seller, what would you want to see? And I think this is all really good points. All right, anything else that's really helpful for our viewers?
The only one thing is make sure as part of your team that you have a good real estate attorney. And when I say real estate attorney, I mean
Not a regular attorney.
a transactional
Not
real
a friend
estate.
that's an attorney.
Yeah, but also a transactional real estate attorney,
Right.
meaning there are real estate attorneys that may handle contamination or whatever, but they don't do a lot of transactional deals.
Right.
You want to make sure you have a transactional attorney that's not going to cause hiccups or cause delays because they haven't seen a clause or are unfamiliar with a clause in a purchase and sale agreement, or for that matter, not even sure what binders to order on a title policy.
Yeah.
You're going to want to make sure you have a real estate attorney that is transactional that you have lined up as part of your team. And that's all.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much, George. I'm going to put George's contact information at the bottom. If you have any further questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. And if you haven't done so, make sure you do subscribe to this channel. We put these videos out every week to really try and help new investors or real estate agents get their foot in the door. So please do subscribe if you can. And also make sure you like this video. All right. We'll see you next week. Thank you, George.
Thank you.